All right. Welcome to another edition of Sabbath Lounge. This is Matt.
And Jake here.
And here we are, jumping in the middle of our thing. And what are we talking about today, Jake, while I navigate to the beginning of this?
Yeah, so this is, we're doing Torah Portions. This is week 20. Tetzaveh You Shall COMMANDS, I guess.
And it comes from Exodus 27:20 through 30:11. So, commands.
27:20 through 30:11.
You shall command. I don't think there's supposed to be an S on it, maybe.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Extra letter
You
there.
shall command.
So, once again, when we do these, we're just trying to do a fast overview of the scripture, and we want to encourage everyone to read it and not just take our word for it.
Right.
See what it says.
We're just trying to hit the highlights here.
So there's this concept of keeping the fire lit at all times. It's our job to do this. What do you think that means?
Well, I guess the fire inside of us of being about the Father's business, having a burning desire, if you will, to go after righteousness.
Yeah.
How's that sound to you?
That's good. Well, and there's a scripture in here about the priest, and they had to keep the fire going, and they weren't supposed to fall asleep on the job. And the rabbis and the sages told stories of if you are the priest and you had the duty to keep the fire going and you fall asleep in the middle of the night, the high priest, when he finds you, he may wake you up by putting some of the hot coals on your garments and lighting you on fire, basically, and waking you up that way.
And then you run out of there stark naked and
like Nacho Libre.
I don't know about that.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll take your word for it.
So he runs out and his clothes are on fire.
Oh, yeah, I think we did a video a long while back with that clip on it. So.
Yeah, we did. So and so that concept became known as the thief in the night kind of thing is what I've heard before. So
okay,
kind of interesting. So but anyway, definitely there is a command, and the concept exists of keeping this fire going, and it's an active thing. You don't just do this one time in your life, the once saved, always saved kind of thing. It's this ongoing active process that we have to be doing. And that's kind of a theme all through this Torah
It's
portion.
Run the race to the end, isn't it?
That's right. Yep. So the other thing we're going to look at is in 28:15, you see that they transfer the sin directly on the heads of one of the rams. And so there's this concept of no sin could be found on the high priest because he's transferred that sin, because the high priest couldn't have this sin on him. What do you think would have happened to him if he goes in the Holy of Holies and he had sin on him?
They'd be wait until they take the tabernacle down to find him. Like
this. Yes. I don't think it would be good.
No.
So they had to have a way to transfer that sin and get it off of him so that he didn't contaminate it, because it couldn't exist in the presence of Yahuwah. It would just would have been smoted, as they say.
Right.
So, and then I thought this was interesting. First off, I found diamonds because I couldn't find anything else. Diamonds aren't mentioned in these texts, but anyway, we got to diamonds here. So if you'll read, as Jake reads these two scriptures, notice how there's a lot of parallels here.
Okay, in Exodus 28:15 through 17, it says, fasten 4 rows of precious stones on it. This is talking about the ephod, right?
Mm-hmm.
The breastplate for the priest. Okay. In the first row, put red quartz, topaz, and emerald. In the second row, put turquoise, sapphire, and crystal. In the third row, put jacinth, agate, and amethyst. In the fourth row, put beryl, onyx, and gray quartz. Mount them in gold settings. And then in Revelation 21, starting in 19, it says, the foundations of the city wall were beautifully decorated with all kinds of gems. The first foundation was gray quartz, the second sapphire, the third agate, the fourth emerald, the fifth onyx, the 6th red quartz, the 7th yellow quartz, the 8th beryl, the 9th topaz, the 10th green quartz, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. So why'd you put that there?
Well, it seems like pretty much all the same precious stones that you see in Exodus are again mentioned in Revelation. There's definitely a connection between these two things. So, and it goes on. So in Exodus 28:21, the stones correspond to the 12 sons of Israel. By name, each stone is engraved like a signet ring with the names of one of the 12 tribes. And well, in Revelation 21:21, the stones correspond to the 12 sons of Israel. By name, each stone engraved like a signet ring with the name of one of the 12 tribes. And so I encourage you to look at these things and see how, they're connected. The beginning and the end are connected.
That's awesome. I think that's a neat connection there.
Yeah. And, we just continue to want to encourage you to look these things up.
Right. And we know, if you go back real quick, we know that Yeshua, when he's talking to the disciples, he says, it's when he's talking about he's talking to the rich guy. He says, what should we do to come into the kingdom? Right. Mm-hmm. And he says, do these. He says, keep the commandments and follow me. Right. And then the disciples say, hey, we've done that and we follow you. So what do we get? And he puts them as the 12 heads of the judging the 12 tribes in the millennial reign. And so that ties into this too, the 12 stones corresponding to the 12. So it's all based on the tabernacle and what we're reading in these Torah portions in this time frame here, because before, when you'd read this, it didn't really apply. It gets real dry if you can't apply it somehow. Yeah. And this is how it's applying. It's pointing to something that Moses saw in the heavens, right? He was shown something in the heavenlies, and he made a model of it, of what he saw. And then in Revelation, you see the actual thing come to pass.
Yeah, that's good. The kidneys. So again, lovely graphic here for you.
Nice tie in there.
Yes, just jump right into the kidneys. So in ancient times, they talked about kidneys, the way you describe your heart, your ideas, your emotions.
Right. It was like the feeling center. I feel it right in my kidneys.
Yes.
Now it's like, well, maybe you should go get that checked out.
Maybe like a gut feeling today is kind of a way we'd call it today. Yeah. And so then the liver, in the liver, Jake has, how would you say it? You've cleaned a few animals.
Yeah.
And so you've experienced the liver, and how do you describe the liver? Was there fat in the liver?
Well, it's very meaty. The liver itself doesn't come across as fatty, but there are fatty deposits with the liver.
And so I think you have this representation of the liver and being connected with leaven and getting rid of the excess and the, and kind of the way the liver is like a filter.
Right.
And what does he tell them to do? Especially like the left lobe of the liver. You see this in the Torah portions. It comes up over and over and over. It's like, you can recite it because you hear it so many times about the left lobe of the liver and the kidneys and all this.
Right. Yeah, he's talking about the fat on the kidneys and on the liver, and those are burnt up as a sweet aroma to Yahweh, and those are typically going to be your most pure fat deposits on the animal.
And it's just the idea of burning up our own emotions, purging the leaven, burning up the impurities, getting rid of the things that don't need to be there. Right. And I think that's the concept. And I think it's easy to overlook in those sacrificial passages. You're just like, oh, that's weird. Well, sacrifice. We don't do that. But it's easy to overlook what those things mean and you can get lost in it and be bored with it, if you will, especially before we walked in this walk. And now that we understand it differently, we can have this understanding and these layers to understand that it's about our own hearts and doing these things. Right. It's not just this weird priest guy with a turban on his head and this thing on the ephod and a faraway place, but this is talking about us.
Right.
So week 20, you shall command. In Exodus 27:20 through 30:11, we just ask that you go take a look at it. And Jake, is there anything else?
No, just read through your portion. Keep up with scripture reading. It's important. I mean, tells us to don't just read it, study it, because anyone can read it.
Yep.
But studying it shows you're putting some effort into it.
That's right. And if you just stumbled across this, you don't know anything we're talking about, we encourage you to go back to the beginning of the book and start reading it again with fresh eyes.
Right.
So, but you can find us in lots of places. If you just Google Sabbath Lounge, Jake, what will they find? Tell the audience what they'll find.
Surprisingly, they will find Sabbath Lounge.
Yes.
Well, they might find some Black Sabbath stuff. Skip over that and then go to the Sabbath Lounge stuff.
And you'll find all kinds of things from YouTube to podcast, all kinds of ways you can access us. So, but we appreciate you stopping by. And this is Matt and
Jake signing
off.